Hi, welcome to 49, not far to go now to the end of the year, so I hope everybody's well. This week's flag has been inspired by a couple of things. So last week obviously I was doing sort of memories of my mum and just thinking about her, and then when I went down to our local dump it site or recycling place, we have a place where you can go in and you can buy bits and pieces, all sorts, and I went in and got myself a vintage quilt, which was an absolute bargain. But when I was just pottering around, I saw all these bangles and it made me think of my mum again. And at Christmas she did a load of bangles. Now she crocheted her bangles, I can't crochet, as you know. And I thought, oh, I wonder if I can blanket stitch. So this was my attempt number one at blanket stitching, doing a blanket stitch around a bangle. I've learned a few things what not to do. Firstly is your choice of thread. I thought this thread would be gorgeous because it's a bit shiny and it's quite sturdy, but it was an absolute pain to try and do. So I'm going to have a go now with my sheepies threads. So we're doing a woven bangle. It's up to you how you want to do it. I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do it, which is a little bit like when I've done the blanket stitch around plastic rings and things like that. Normally do the blanket stitch on the outside. This time we're doing the blanket stitch on the inside. So to get started, you just need a little bit of a tail dangling off. Have your thread through, and all you're doing is going over your bangle and under the thread, and then pull your thread through, and that creates your blanket stitch. So just lay that there, pull that through. So I've got quite a long piece of thread because I want to see if I can get this done in one. Now what you need to do is leave probably about 2 mil between each of your stitches, because we're going to have to come back and then start putting threads, your needle through that. And that was one of the things that I learned on the very first one, was that I had got my stitches too close together, but I was also trying to use this needle which has got a massive eye on it, so I need to swap my needle when it comes round to doing that. I've just got a big needle for this bit because it just makes it a little bit easier. So I'll just hold that up. They're about a couple of millimeters apart. So I've just got that little tail there. That'll get tucked in when we get all the way around the edge. So I'm hoping this is going to work this time. I think what I did last time was I started off okay, because when you come round to do your second set, I was doing every other stitch, and then I kept doing every other stitch, and that's where I went wrong. You need to do every other stitch on the very first go round, second go round, but then you need to do every stitch, because it got really confusing trying to do every other stitch. If you can crochet, or if you can think of a different way of doing it, feel free to have a go. Share anything on Facebook or Instagram if you've got any good ideas. I'm probably assuming as well there's probably loads of tutorials and all sorts on different things, but I just quite like a blanket stitch. It gives a really, really nice effect. It's a bit like a spider's wheel. So I'm going to keep going all the way around. So what you're wanting is that ridge of stitches needs to be on the inside of your bangle, because then we'll carry on doing that. Okay, so I'm going to carry on doing this. I'll do one of my fast forwards so you can see me doing it super fast, and then I'll come back when I'm on to the second row. myself going all the way back round. So this little tail here, all I'm going to do with that is lay that along my bangle. So I've got that sits right next to the bangle, and all I'm going to do now is do my blanket stitch around it. So what that'll do, oops, she says, something to that one, pull that round, there we go. What it'll do now, it'll just mean that that's going to get trapped inside it. So I'm doing my blanket stitch. On focus. There we go. There we go. So you can see I've got the tail there, and then I'm starting to do my blanket stitch now around. So I'm just thinking, actually, if you're doing blanket stitch, I suppose the bit that's the hardest is getting a length of thread on a length of thread on your needle. So just carry on with your blanket. So I don't know how long a thread you're going to need. If anybody was thinking of messaging me and saying, how long does my thread need to be? It needs to be long. But I would imagine if you're crocheting, you don't have to cut a thread because you're just doing it straight off your yarn. So that might be a little bit easier. Okay, right, so when you get back down, because I know that this thread that I've got left isn't going to be long enough to do the middle, we're going to fasten this one off and then get a new thread, and I'm going to get a needle that's got a slightly thinner eye and a thinner, I don't know what's the length of a needle, it's not the barrel of a needle. Oh, I don't know what that's called. I know there's the eye of the needle. I don't know what the needle, well, a thinner needle I'll just say. Right, okay, so I've got the one there that I've had hidden, that I hid in it, so I can trim that one off. And then all I need to do to finish this one is just do exactly the same thing. So I'm going to get a thinner needle for this because I don't think that's going to go through. Let's have a look. Get a needle that I know that my thread will go through. There we go. So all you need to do to finish it off is just run your needle through 2 or 3 stitches. Oops. 2 or 3 stitches. Come on, you know you want to focus. There we go. Run your needle through 2 or 3 stitches and just pull it through and then trim it off. She said as it's just pulled all the blanket stitches all the way along. What's happened with that? There we go. Just pulled that bit out then. That wasn't very good. Right, let's move them back along. There we go. That's it. Right, so I can trim my starting one off and just trim that one off. There we go. Right, so I've now got my bangle. Just go around, just space out your stitches. Make sure the ridge is going to the inside. Okay, right, so I need a new thread. Now you could go with a different colour if you wanted to. I'm going to stick with the same. So I've sort of lengthwise I've done 1 arm length. I've done 2 arm lengths. Hopefully this will be enough. Okie, so to start it off you do it just like you finished off. So I'm just going to run my needle through just to trap that thread. I'm not going to do it in the same place where I finished that last one. So I'm just going to go the other side, so just maybe 3 or 4 little stitches. There we go. Let's pull that through. I'm just going to leave that as a tail just to start off with. Right, so what we're going to do now is you're going to carry on with your blanket stitch, but we're going to do every other stitch. Let's bring this down. So I'm going to do every other stitch. So what you're doing this time is go through one of the little stitches, through the stitch and over your thread, and get yourself in a knot. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so hold your thread up. So I've gone through the first one, that one, so it's 1, 2, through and over your thread. And what that's going to do, it's going to create a little stitch, which is there, because that's really important. That's what we're going to be working on next time as we come round. So 1, 2, through, and you want to try and keep them a similar sort of tension. There, 1, 2. Definitely easier with this thread, a smoother thread. I think the problem with the other one is because it was such a twisted thread, it just kept twisting itself, and I was getting into a right knot. So if I just show you that stitch again, so I've got my thread on top of my ring, so 1, 2, go through the little gap and over your thread, keeping your needle towards the front of your bangle. 1, 2, oops, so again, just going to keep going round. So what I'm doing there is I'm creating like a little stitch on the inside. 1, 2. 2. 2. Sometimes it's a bit tricky to see which is number 2. So just pull it up, you'll see which one it lifts up. So then just miss the next one and go through. And then all we're going to do is when we get round, we'll then do this, but we'll do it in every stitch. So what I did when I did my first one, I kept doing it in every other stitch, and it just got that you hadn't got enough stitches. So the outside of the pattern I was really happy with, but as it got further in, it was harder and harder to work out which was the other one. So then I undid a bit, and then I did it in every one. So it just got a little bit bonkers really. I got a little bit lost, whereas I think once you've done the every other one, so don't think you need to do every single one on this way round, because it's going to create that one, really small holes. If you want to, like I always say, feel free. Up a bit. I know my mum, when she did hers, their crochet, she was an amazing crocheter. It's one of those things that I really do wish I had got her to teach me how to do. Mind you, we probably would have fallen out because she's right-handed and I'm left-handed. Just not very good at, I don't think I'm just not very good at following instructions and patterns. It's like knitting blows my mind. If you are a knitter, total hats off to you. Knitting blows my mind. I don't understand it. at all. I did challenge myself a few years ago, and when Robert was skiing, me and the kids decided we were going to sit and teach ourselves how to knit. And I made myself, oh, that's coming undone. I did make myself a scarf, an infinity scarf, which I was very proud of. Now then, that's coming undone. So I've obviously done those a little bit too small. So that was back at the beginning. So I've gone all the way around. Oh no! Right, what can we do? Stitch through something there. That's what I've done. Right, so that's the big back at the beginning. So I think what I'm going to have to do is tie that in a little knot. Not ideal, haha, pardon the pun, but at least I don't have to start again. So I probably made those a little bit too small. So these were the bits that I wrapped in right at the beginning. So note to self, make them longer, or like this, if you do it, just tie them in a knot. There we go. Trim them off. There's only me and everybody watching this that knows that I've done that. Right, so this has got a bit twisted around. Let's pull that round that way, so I've got back to where I am. There we go. Right, carry on. There's always a way that you can sort it out if something goes wrong. The worst thing you can do is tell anybody, but obviously you now all know that I went slightly wrong. But hopefully, by the time I come back round again, you'll never know. Right, we're off again. Every other one. Probably would be easier if you did it with a blunt needle, because then you're not going to go through the actual thread. But I just hadn't got a blunt needle to hand. That was that one. 2. There we go. We're off again. That's that one. 2. Right, I'm nearly back round. 1, 2. Right, so when you're back round, then all you're going to do is carry on doing exactly the same thing, but in each one of the stitches that you've just made. And you just keep going round and round and round until you get to the middle. Oops. Got a little knot. If it looks like it's getting a bit twisty, just hold it up and let it just unspin itself. What can happen as well is this thread at the end, if that starts opening up like that, going a bit frayed, just trim it, because it's that bit that sometimes starts twisting around on the bits as you're pulling it through, and that's when you start getting knots. That's that one. 1, 2. So if you pull it up, you can see which one's gone up, and then just miss that one. Pop that one in. So you're just going to be working in concentric circles. 2. Makes a bit silly noises. You go do. Right, I'm coming back round now. That on. Right. Hokey cokey. Right, so I've gone, let's pull those out, I've gone all the way around, so we've now got a little stitch on the inside now. So all I'm going to start doing is exactly the same thing, but I'm going through the stitch. So it's through that one, and then the next one. So be careful with your tension. So if you pull it too tight, it can distort what you're doing, and then you can't always see where the next one is. Let's do a few more. Now if you did get to a stage, if you thought, oh my god, I've run out of, I'm running out of thread, all I would do is take it to the back and tie a tiny knot, or leave a dangly bit, and then fasten it onto the next bit that you're going to do. But hopefully you've got enough thread. I'm hoping I have enough thread to keep going, because obviously each time you go around, you're not actually using as much thread. So this gives you a really, really tight pattern. It might be the next time I go around, I might do every other one and then go back to doing every one, because then it'll open it up a little bit and then close it up a little bit. I'll see. See what it looks like once I've got all the way around to the other side. So I'm finding this easier working just flat rather than holding it in the air. Just turn it round as I'm going. Right, I'm coming round to my challenging area, shall we say. So all I'll have to do is just have a look at where I can see a stitch and just pull that into it, and then it should happen that, right, where are we going? Is that one? No, that one. This will mask it. So if I just pull that tension just a little bit on there, then people will never know. Get a bit twisty. To make sure if you do lift it up to twist it, that you put it back down and you keep going the right way around. So I'm going clockwise. I'm assuming that's because I'm super special and I'm left-handed. I have no doubt that once I start seeing people's bangles, that I'm definitely going to want to learn how to crochet, because I would imagine there's some amazing crocheters out there. Okay, so I think I'm nearly back at the beginning. Yep, So I've got my little tail so I know where I am. So there we are, I'm just back at the beginning. So all I'm just going to keep doing is just keep going and going and going. So I'll show you where I get to when I get to the end. I do think I'm probably going to do every other one again, and then I'll go back to doing every one and see what happens. Okay, right, I'll show you when it's finished. Okay, so what I did was I did 2 where I did every single one, then I did 2 where I did every other one, and then I went back to doing every single one, and I've gone round now and I'm sort of like, I've created this little circle in the middle, which I kind of quite like. So I think I'm going to finish, I'm not going to take it right to the middle, I'm going to finish it off there. So to finish it off, I'm just going to create a loop at the back and just do just a little knot. So I ended up doing every single one then, and it was getting a bit confusing as to, I don't know whether or not you could see that from the video, but it was getting a little bit confusing as to which was the one I needed to go through, and it was getting closer and closer together. So I thought, oh, do you know what, let's just stop there. So it was really handy leaving that tail on, because I knew when I'd gone all the way around. So there we go, my little blanket wheeled thingy, blanket wheel bangle. I'm just going to have that on there, so I'll probably just do a stitch through, and then I might dangle something from it maybe. So to do my stitch through, that's when we did all the bullion knots at the other side. Just pop it on as a front. So where I've got my little knotty bit, I'm going to have that at the top, because then I can cover that with my thread. Then people won't see what happened. So if I just poke holes front and back, and then just kind of stitch this a few times. So I'm not putting it onto fabric. You could, oh sorry, I'm doing this right in front of me. You could put it onto a piece of fabric if you wanted a bit of a contrasting background to it, or a piece of lace or something, but I'm just going to stitch that on. Interesting how I've gone for the same colours. That wasn't really intentional. Weird, isn't it? Very weird. I don't know whether or not everybody's doing the back-to-backs or doing them all as singles, but I found it quite fascinating going back each week and having a look at what was the other side of my flag. Some of them, they've borne no relation to each other, but then every so often there's been one that's been like, oh, do you know what? That's weird, isn't it, that that's happened like that? So there we go. There was my first attempt. Second attempt, definitely a lot better. So can't wait to see everybody's woven bangles, and I'll see you same time, same place for week 50. Oh my goodness. See you next week. Bye.